Recently, I've seen quite a few people talking about how they think Weather will be really strong in Regulation E, and as someone that's been quite vocal about how good I think Rain will be, I thought this would be a good time to break down each archetype and why they could be good. Now, obviously, the whole reason this is getting brought up is because in less than a week, we've got the Teal Mask dropping. Now, the Teal Mask is going to be very important for a couple of things. Basically, number one, there's a lot of Pokemon returning in Teal Mask, and two, there's a couple Pokemon that are going to be new in the Teal Mask. So, obviously, in terms of the new Pokemon, I'm not really going to touch on those today, as we don't really know how they're going to affect weather or just the meta in general. But the Pokemon that are returning do bring a couple interesting tools, especially for weather. And the first Pokemon there is Alolan Ninetales. Now, the reason Alolan Ninetales is probably the most talked about Pokemon returning, at least, is because it gives us basically the best snow setter we have in the game, right? Because right now, if you do look at snow, basically we have a Bomber Snow right now. A Bomber Snow is, let's be honest, it's not the best Pokemon in the game, right? We have a look at its stats here. It doesn't hit very hard at 92 special attack. It's very slow at 60 base speed. And its bulk, while it's not bad, it's definitely not great, right? Obviously, its defensive stat gets raised up by the snow itself, but its special defense stat and HP stat are both basically just average, right? Now, it does have access to, not Light Play, sorry, Aurora Veil, right? Basically, one of the main reasons why Snow is such a good archetype, especially defensively, because Aurora Veil basically gives your team, it's not as strong as screens. I believe it's 1/3, but still reducing, the damage taken by 1/3 can be really, really important. But basically, yeah, when we look at this mon, it's stats-wise, it just doesn't really compare to Alolan Ninetales. Now, as we do see here, Ninetales does not hit quite as hard as Bomber Snow does, but it is a lot faster, and it's a lot bulkier on the special end, and physical defense is roughly the same, right? The HP stat is, quite a bit lower, obviously. But obviously, with the snow and the fact that you can afford to run a bit more, bulk on this, obviously it makes up for it. Now, I guess we need to discuss why is, snow potentially really good, or what can snow do, right? Basically, we have Snow Warning. We have this mon here in Alolan Ninetales. Again, 109 speed's very, very quick. With Timid Max Speed, this mon outspeeds a lot of things it needs to outspeed. Obviously, it outspeeds up base 100, hits those, 101 Genies. It outspeeds, things that are hovering in that 105, 106 range as well. Like, I think even a Namarus is 106. Well, it's not super, meta right now. Being 109 can still be really, really good. Even things, like, Tornadus and Thunderous, who aren't running max speed when they, they're 111 base speed. If they're not running max speed, you outspeed them and you hit them for super effective damage. But not to mention, one thing that Snow has that I guess the other main weathers don't, is it has the most powerful stab move that, is 100% accurate. So Blizzard being 110 base damage, and then obviously a 10% chance to freeze, in the snow, hitting both targets can be really, really clutch, because it puts your opponents in a position where they can't really afford to, ignore the Ninetales. But also, at the same time, Ninetales is going to do things like this, right? It's going to get up Aurora Beam, you can fire off some really good Moonblast, Dazzling Gleams, and yeah, this one I think is just really, really freaking good, right? Like, it can set up the, the Aurora Veil for your team. It can fire off really strong stab moves, and it also just has like really, really good support moves as well, right? It gets access to things like Encore Disable, which can be really, really good, obviously, if you outspeed some certain Pokemon. It also gets things like Icy Wind for speed control. And yeah, it also gets Freeze Dry as well, which is another like cool move as well, obviously hitting the water type. So Alolan Ninetales just has a lot more going for it than a Bomber Snow does. Now, a Bomber Snow is definitely not a bad Pokemon by any means, right? It gets access to Blizzard, it gets Giga Drain, it also gets Energy Ball, it also gets Earth Power as well, which we just saw there. I do believe both these mons also get access to Helping Hand as well, which can be kind of cool. But yeah, like both definitely good support ones, but I do think Alolan Ninetales is just, it's better, right? It's faster, it can get up your Aurora Veil, it has speed control. Fairy is just a better stab move than Grass. There's just a lot of things Ninetales can do. And yeah, it's just fantastic, right? But now basically we need to talk about the Pokemon that these guys pair with, yeah? So the first thing we'll touch on here is Slush Rush users. Now, unfortunately, Slush Rush is like, it really isn't the best. If you have a look here, like the best abusers really are Arctozolt and Arctofish, which like aren't coming back. But then we have Beartic, Satitan, and Alolan Sandslash. Now, Beartic is like really unfortunate, right? Because like what this mon suffers from that I don't think really any other abuser outside of like Sunflora gets, is it's just awful speed stat, right? So a lot of these mons, right, they can afford to run an attack boosting nature, right? So for example, I would love to just go like Adamant, right, on this guy. If you have a look, right, bang, I hit 181. If I run Adamant, so I hit 182. If I run Adamant, I'm going to hit 200 attack, yeah? Like really freaking good, yeah? Unfortunately, if I do that, my speed stat only hits 102, which is like a big issue this one has, right? Being 102, basically, it doesn't allow you to outspeed things like Iron Bundle, I guess mainly, Iron Bundle, Flutter Mane, Chien Pao, and then obviously Dragon Pole, right? Things that you really, really want to outspeed, right? So you're kind of forced to run Jolly on this thing. Otherwise, you're not outspeeding what you need to. And then again, it puts you in this like awkward position where your attack stat, it could just be that little bit higher, right? This one also gets Swift Swim as well. So you could potentially put on a Rain team like, it's not a bad, like, life orb user yet. Like, its defenses are decent, its HP is solid. Its biggest issue is just this speed stat being lackluster, because, like, this is a Pokemon that really wants to go Terra Water. And, you know, just fire off things like Icicle Crash. You could even go, like, Ice Spear could even be, like, decent. Like, Icicle Crash, Liquidation. I think it gets, does it get Ice Shard? It does not get Ice Shard, but I know it gets Aqua Jet. It gets Swords Dance. Like, this one has potential. It's just really, like, kind of let down by its speed stat, and because of that, I don't think it's really good. So Titan is a fan favorite Pokemon. I love this guy, right? He's really cool. Like, great, you know, great design. I love it. It gets Slush Rush. Has a really good speed stat for Slush Rush as well, which is, like, really cool. This mod's, like, biggest issue, though, is its defensive stats are, like, kind of poo, but it's, like, it makes up for it with, like, this crazy HP stat, right? So, like, a cool thing you can do with a guy like this, yeah, is you can run him up to, like, that 107 minimum. If you want to go faster, you can. But I like hitting, like, 107. You may eventually want to run this up to, like, 114, 116, just so you can outspeed things without the weather. But you can also just afford to run Adamant on a guy like this, yeah. And in terms of bulk, like, you don't need HP. Defense, you don't really need. You just put, like, 1 point into it, and you let the snow do the rest. You kind of dump it here. I do think that's, like, really, really solid. You could even just, like, do this just to make, like, my OCD feel a bit better. And, like, this mod is, like, it's pretty similar to what we were just talking about, right? I don't think it gets Swords Dance, does it? Nah. But it does get Belly Drum, right? So it gets, like, Belly Drum. You could go, like, Belly Drum plus Citrus. You could also just, like, in terms of, like, moves on this as well, you probably just put, like, Icicle Crash. Oh, it gets Ice Spinner, actually. You probably want Ice Spinner, Liquidation, right? Similar to what we were, like, saying about Beartic, like, these Ice Mons, I think they really, really want, like, the Terra Water, because, like, one Terra Water is, like, great defensive typing for them. It gets rid of their fire weakness, and overall, it's just, like, fantastic defensive typing. But then also things that, like, Ice can't hit, Water's, like, really good into, right? So, it makes up for it, right? Like, obviously, rock types, you got steel types, like basically like things that like resist or like don't care about the ice type, the water type can hit pretty well, yeah. So it's pretty nice, but you could always like run something like this. You could also run, like I have seen in the past, people run like Terra Ground Earthquake as well. And you can also go like Assault Vest as well. That's the other like big thing on this one, right? Is like if you go like AV, all of a sudden this one becomes like really, really bulky. Like these two get like +2 in their stats. You know, you've got a really high HP stat, really solid attack stat with Adamant Edge here. So Titan is a really interesting Slush Rush user. So I definitely could see it being like decent or at least getting some play. And then in this slot 2, if we're going like AV, I'll just sup the Ice Shard. Because like Ice Shard is just like always really freaking good, man. And then finally, the other like main Slush Rush user really is a Alolan Sand Slash here. Now, this one's really, really interesting. Because again, like its speed stat is like just enough where like you can afford to run Adamant. But like its physical bulk is actually insane, right? So like, as we were saying, we'll run this up to like 107. We'll just go like 150 Adamant here just to like save ourselves some points, right? But this guy is like, you know, if you look at these two, yeah, 80 defense, 65 defense, you know, in the snow, it's decent, yeah. But this guy's is freaking nutty, dude. Like, that's insane. Like, I'd probably just like dump the rest there. And then, yeah, like, dude, look at that. That would become, what's that? Like, quick math, 210. Dude, in snow, this one is absolutely walling stuff. I also kind of didn't mention, most of these guys also get Snow Cloak as well. I think just these two, right? Yeah, they get Snow Cloak, so that's like another option, but I do think they're better off, you know, using Slush Rush. But also it does get access to, you know, that Steel typing, which I do think is really, really, really nice, right? Does it get, look, it's most likely going to get Ice Spinner. It does get Ice Crash. It does get Ice Shard as well. Do we get Sword Dance? Yeah, we do get Sword Dance as well. So I could definitely see a world in where this mon actually does something. Especially as like a SD user, because like it's just so physically bulky, right? It would be so good at like walling out the Booms, really good at walling out Qian Pao. Obviously Qian Pao is just going to click like Sacred Sword into you, but you run a defensive Terra, right? You go something that isn't like weak to fighting, like, you know, potentially like Terra Fairy or something like that. Oh, is there something that resists fighting and fire? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Fighting, fire, can't think of it. Maybe even like Terra Poison. Nah, Terra Poison's probably not the best. But yeah, like I'm sure there's like some like defensive Terra that you could run, and then you just run like triple like offensive stats like this. And yeah, I think this one could be pretty cool. I definitely think it's like it could become the best Slush Rush user. I just do think that like Slush Rush isn't necessarily going to be like the best ability really. And then I guess as well, like just to round things out, well, so not to round things out, we still got a bit more to talk about in terms of, you know, snow here. Iron Bundle is a big one. I think that could really benefit from snow as well. Main reason is because, like, you know, we kind of touched on it before. It's a Blizzard spammer, right? It's probably like the only Blizzard spammer that's like half decent, but it's just a really quick Blizzard spammer. But you could also use this as your Aurora Veil setter, right? If you wanted to run something like, you know, say like a Focus Sash offensive Ninetales, because I can see a world where you got like Ninetales, Iron Bundle, like, and then like Flutterfish, right? And then you're saying like, hey, we've got this like really hyper offensive team. We're getting up the Aurora Veil. And then like Ninetales is just like a secondary offensive option, right? Because like this, you know, this is a pretty bad special attack stat. Let's not lie, right? But all of a sudden you put that next to Chi-Yu, and then you're spamming like really strong, you know, like you're spamming really strong moves in like Moonblast, like Dazzling Gleam's also there. Like this one can actually like pump out some like really good damage, I think, next to Chi-Yu. And Iron Bundle is just like, again, it could be your Blizzard mon, it could be your Speed Control mon. It becomes like absurdly bulky on the physical end. Because its speed stat's so nice as well, and the way like the meta's kind of like shifting. I could even see like a world where you run this thing as like a bulky like support with like Icy Wind on it and whatnot. And like you don't have to run this thing max speed, right? Like if you run this as like a Timid Nature, like this mon still only needs like what, like this much investment. Do you want to? Yeah, probably just go to that. Like if you go like 188. This one, like, just, like, it outspeeds everything it needs to, right? So when I say everything it needs to, I'm more referring to, like, the Chienpows and the Fluttermanes that are running Modest Natures, because a lot of people are right now. And again, that might change as the meta develops, right? People might have to start going back to max speed Jolly. But definitely something like this could be really freaking cool, right? You just got, like, 1 point there. And I'm sure there's, like, some calc you could find where, like, those extra bit of points plus the Aurora Veil could, like, really, really benefit you. But yeah, I do think Bundle is, like, the only real Blizzard abuser outside of Alola Ninetales, which is kind of sad, but, you know, it is what it is, yeah. And then finally, the other like thing to really touch on here, I guess, are the other abilities affected by it. So there is Ice Body. I do think Ice Body's like only good user is probably like Bax Caliber, right? Ice Body. Yeah, like if you look at these mons here, like Bax could be decent. Like Bax with like lefties plus Ice Body maybe. Ice Body like heals like 1/6 every turn. I don't think that's very good, but like maybe there's a world where like you play bulky Bax with that. But yeah, so there's Ice Body and then there's Snowcloak. Snowcloak's a lot more interesting, right? So obviously, we did see, my God, Snow. We did see, Articuno was like really good in, oh, not really good, but it had a role in Regulation D. Basically, like, it's a really, really bulky ice type. Maybe like a decent Blizzard abuser as well. But with its bulk plus the Snowcloak, it was actually like really, really tanky. It was able to sit there, you know, throw out a lot of attacks. It was pretty decent, right? Frostlass, probably wouldn't run Frostlass. I don't think it's worth it. Maybe Glaceon with like Snowcloak could be good. How would you like run this though? Like, I feel like this would have to be on like a, like if you were gonna run this, I feel like you'd have to run it on like almost a Trick Room team at speed. I guess you could run it in like a hybrid Tailwind actually. And you just like run something like this, because that could be like a really decent Blizzard abuser, like, you know, no cap. Just go like what, like something like this maybe, just like, yeah, something like that looks alright. And then you get like a really good defense boost here. You've already got like naturally really high special defense. You just need to get that HP up there, and then like maybe you slap this on like a Tailwind team, right? Something like that could be good, cool maybe. Gets Blizzard. Do you also get Aurora Veil? Yeah, I mean, you get Aurora Veil, but you're probably too slow to use it, right? But yeah, I think Glaceon as a Snowcloak user can be kind of cool, because you just go that plus, what is it, Bright Powder, right? Yeah, so that's like pretty decent. And then I guess like really, we've already touched on Articuno. Oh yes, the other one I want to talk about, Mamoswine. So I do think Mamoswine is actually going to be a really interesting Pokemon in this upcoming format, right? And one of the Pokemon, I think so. I think this is going to be a cool Pokemon for a couple reasons, right? Obviously, I think, you know, this Sashed on Tailwind teams is going to be really, really good, right? Like Focus Sash, paired up with Tailwind, you know, it's got Oblivious, right? Obviously to ignore Taunt. This one hits really freaking hard, right? 130 attack, you know, you go Adamant, you hit 200 attack, yeah? Really freaking good, hits really hard. It gets things like Icicle Crash, it gets Ice Beam, it gets Earthquake, right? Really, really good. Like, I could see this being paired up with like Tornadus and being really, really solid, yeah? But what I actually think could be really interesting, right, is Assault Vest, Snowcloak on Snow with like something like this, yeah. What have I got? Yeah, I got Dual Stab there. What's like another physical move I could slap on this? Have a quick look. Maybe Body Press, Heavy Slam, bang, Heavy Slam. That's your Fluttermane answer right there, right? And then you like run this up to like 107, so it's like good on Tailwind. And then it's like, oh, I have AV and I have Snow Boost, and all of a sudden this one with this like absurdly high attack HP stat is like freaking insane to remove, yeah? Like insane to remove. Like, you imagine this thing in Snow with AV, right? 120, you know, 120 special defense, 150 defense, 210 HP. Dude, this thing would be impossible to take out. Not to mention AV, just like making it really strong, allowing it to eat hits from like Fluttermane and whatnot. Yeah, I think this one could be really freaking sick. But that is it for Rain. Sorry, that's it for Snow. Let's move on to the next weather, shall we? Now, I did kind of spoil it there. The next weather I want to talk about here is Rain. Now, Rain is getting the guy Politoed back. Now, Pelba has been a pretty decent drizzle setter for most of the format, right? It's been good, yeah, this mod. It has a lot of options, yeah. You know, it gets access to, you know, Stab Hurricane in the rain. It gets, you know, obviously like Hydro Pump and stuff in the rain. The Tailwind Setter. It gets, you know, support moves like Wide Guard. But it's been decent, yeah. This mon's like biggest issue in my opinion is its stats, yeah. It's pretty slow. Its HP is atrocious. Its special defense is pretty bad. And while its defense itself is actually pretty decent, when Iron Hands is like, you know, the second most played mon in the format and it's a physical electric type, you know, you're not going to have a great time, yeah. This mon, a lot of the time, in my opinion at least, it requires like having like a focus sash. I do know people also have run things like you could always like go Damp Rock if you wanted. But I personally do think Focus Sash is like the best, unless you're going like Rocky Helmet. That's actually like the other good like use case for this one, right? Is like with like max HP, it's decently bulky on the physical end, and it can eat, you know, hits from like Urshifu and whatnot, right? But my guy Politoed is a little different, yeah. So statistically speaking, you look at it and you're probably like, it's not that crazy a difference, right? But I actually think it is, right? So if you have a look at min speed, right? So 65 versus 90. Politoed is a mon that does need less speed investment, I think, than Pelipper. I honestly think Pelipper is the kind of mon that like benefits from like max, right? You go like Timid, you go max, and you just like go Focus Sash, right? I personally think that's the best way to play this one. You kind of use it with like, you know, Hurricane and whatnot to like really like, you know, go hard against like Amoonguses and shit, yeah? But Politoed is like really good because it kind of enables a lot of different modes. And that's kind of the main thing I want to touch on with Rain as to why I think it's going to be really good, right? First of all, this mon, it's like just a better support, right? It gets things like Encore. It also gets like, what's it called? Does it get Disable? No, it doesn't get Disable. I don't know what I was thinking there. It gets Encore, which is good. Perish Song, that's the other big one, right? It also gets Perish, which I think could like be really cool with like a Flutter main team in Rain. It also, you know, potentially is getting Scald back, but obviously we don't know if Scald's returning. It gets Hydro Pump. Like, this is someone where like it hits slightly worse than Pelipper. But it also like doesn't need just like as much, I don't think. Like this one's just like such a cool support. I also think it's going to benefit a lot from Terra Grass. Because Terra Grass would kind of like just allow it to just like sit there against like Amoonguss, click Encore on it and just like kind of do its thing, yeah. It also gets access to things like Ice Beam, Icy Wind, which like is another big thing, right? Like Pelipper gets these moves, like Pelipper gets Ice Beam, but I don't think Pelipper wants to click Ice Beam, right? Like I think that's like one of the big issues, right? Like you don't want to run like 3 attack Pelipper. I feel like that's just bad. Like you want your 2 stab moves. And that's what's like really good about Politoed. It kind of opens it up to having that like that Ice Beam or that Icy Wind support, right? Really, really good. It's also like, while its physical bulk is technically like not as much, its special bulk is far greater. Its HP stat is, you know, far better as well. So like, while Pelipper has this, you know, bit more like quite a bit more defense stat, let's be honest. You know, Politoed's HP stat is just so much better. Like you see that there, 67, but like it's 30 points more, right? That 30 points goes a long way. And it also means you can like invest more into your defensive stat, right? So that's like, in my opinion, like the 2 main differences between these ones, right? Yeah, you go something like that on Politoed, you know, hit whatever speed and damage calc you need, yeah. Actually, how much we need for 107? Yeah, look, you're probably not going 107. I do think you're going to pair this with Tailwind teams, but I do think you're kind of just going like no speed or like maybe like 2 points to like just, you know, win a potential speed creep war. But yeah, Politoed, in my opinion, is going to be like really cool just because it enables like a lot of like modes, right? But basically, what pairs well with Rain? Obviously, I think when people think of Rain, the first thing you think of here is Swift Swim, right? So obviously, we're going to have Basculegion, right? Basculegion was a really good Swift Swimmer in the last format. I still think Basculegion's going to be really, really good. But we do have 2, you know, new Swift Swimmers coming into the game. And one of which is Ludicolo, which is the one, again, I'm really excited for. Ludi is a great mon on Rain for a lot of reasons, right? It has Fake Out, which makes it a really good support. It's got, like, you know, decent stats as well. It hits that 70 speed stat, I believe, which is what we need, again, in these rooms, right? So in these weather wars, yeah. So you can go for something like that. It's pretty decent. You can go like max here and just go like modest, really nice. But then it also just has like really, really solid defensive stats, right? Its special defense is really nice. You don't need to touch it. And then at that point, you kind of just go into the HP and you pair it with like maybe an Intimidate user or something to kind of, you know, help it out here. But I do think like Assault Vest is going to be like really good on this one. And again, this one does a couple things, right? So really good into Amoonguss. It can't Spore you, which means like you got a free switch into it. Deceptively bulky as well, which is really nice. Obviously, you know, being able to switch it in, you know, like say like you don't want to get Spored, you can switch it in and you're not too worried about it, you know, dying to whatever attack's coming into it. Not to mention also 4x resists our good friend Urshifu, which I think is always going to be really good, especially when you are buffing up Urshifu's stats, right? Like if you're going up against Urshifu in Rain, it's like you're going to make their Urshifu stronger. So having something like Ludicolo that can kind of switch in and just eat its attacks, I do think is really, really important. But Ludi, yeah, really, really cool. It's a Fake Out mon. It also gets access to like Energy Ball. It gets Giga Drain. It apparently gets Encore as well if you want to run it without AV. But yeah, it gets like Giga Drain to like kind of stay healthy. Obviously Hydro Pump, Scald, whatever. I believe also like you're never going to run like both of these, obviously. Also gets ice coverage as well, right? So really, really good into the genies. I do think this mon will also benefit from Terra a lot. I do think it could also potentially even looking at, you know, tearing into one of its own stabs, right? So you could get rid of the grass type, get rid of the water type, whatever, and keep the other one. Especially like grass in rain is like always really nice, right? Because obviously rain reduces the damage coming out of fire moves. Really, really solid. And again, I think Terra Water could also be really sick just for helping this one pump out a lot of damage. But Ludicolo is definitely like my favorite rain abuser coming back from, you know, into the format. We also have things like Poliwrath. Poliwrath is interesting. Obviously it's like a Swift Swimmer. It's pretty bulky. But I feel like it's just kind of like middling, right? It's kind of like a lot of the other Swift Swimmers, right? If we have a look, it's like the, like I think of things like Floatzel and whatnot when I see it. Like Barrascuda hits harder than it. You know, like, yeah, like Dreadnought's another one we can actually touch on a little bit. I do think Dreadnought's kind of cool because I do think, like it gives you like a decent matchup into Sun. Like giving you like a Rock Slide mon into Sun's like always decent. But yeah, I think it's kind of in a similar boat to like Golduck even, where it's like it doesn't hit that hard. It's not that fast. It's not that bulky. You know, Kingdra's like straight up just better than it. Unfortunately, we don't have Kingdra back. Like Overquill, like if this was a water type, I think it would be like potentially the best. Or at least, you know, better than most of these things that aren't like Ludio, Basculegion. But yeah, like this one, I believe, does it get Swords Dance? I think, no, I know it gets Belly Drum. So like you could always like use it as like a belly drummer. Do we get Aqua Jet? I'm pretty sure you get Aqua Jet. You don't even get, yeah, you don't even get Aqua Jet. So what are you, like Liquidation, like Close Combat, like maybe Drain Punch? Drain Punch, yeah. So I don't know, like maybe something like that you build, but yeah, I don't want to touch on it too much. I don't think it's that good. I definitely think these are going to be your two like premier Swift Swimmers. I didn't really touch on this guy either. I kind of just assumed everyone knew what it did, but it's got Last Respects, it's got Aqua Jet, it's got Wave Crash. In the rain, this guy's a beast. Yeah, that's all I really need to say about him. But what else do we want to talk about? So, I guess before we jump onto like any other like cool strategies, rain buffs water types obviously. Urshifu Rapid Strike's a really good mon. I think Scarf like Urshi on rain with like a Tailwind team is like really good. Unseen Fist is broken. Its attack stats insanely high. Don't really need to say much else. I'm sure everyone else knows what it does. Another cool one. Now I don't know how good this is actually gonna be, but it's Agent Craw. You know, the Don. We got the adaptability, Terra Water in the rain, Aqua Jetting with a choice band. You already know that's doing a lot of damage. Yeah, this is more of a like a fun one for me. It's just like you're probably just clicking those two moves. Maybe you get like knockoff or something. But yeah, to me, Crawdon's like more of a fun one, but its attack stat is like really nice, and in rain plus adaptability, I think it can pump out a lot of damage. But yeah, this is a one I'll try it at some point. It's more of a fun one, clearly. You know, oh bang, hits 107, perfect. Yep, that's it, boys. That's all we needed. But yeah, look, it's not very bulky. It's dying in one shot, but these liquidations, sorry, these Aqua Jets are gonna do a lot of damage. All right, boys. So I actually couldn't help myself here. I thought I'd just run a quick calc. I did change the attack stat to match the other Crawdons here. But as we see, a banded Terra Water Aqua Jet in the rain will always one-shot Flutter Mane, and this is bulky Flutter too. So yeah, really freaking cool mon. Definitely gonna try it out at some point. Now, the next thing here that I kind of want to touch on is why I really think Politoed is a lot better than Pelipper, right? And that is a specific strategy that was kind of introduced in Generation 9 that we haven't really seen explored too much, right? And that is the new Genie mons paired up with Rain, right? So I'll quickly just throw up the ones here. I actually think both Thunderous forms could be really good, but I think T will be a little better. At least T's the one I got my eye on. We got, that's Thunderous, we want Tornadus. And then finally Enamorous, right? So these are the more like offensive variants, or like the variants I think will be better in rain. Again, Thunderous, I could see both of its like versions being good in rain. But yeah, I definitely think they all hold a place. I think Tornadus is like definitely the best. Because not only does it have like Tailwind, like Pranks to Tailwind support for the team, it also has a Stab Hurricane that doesn't miss in the rain, and it also gets Bleak Windstorm. I probably should just quickly explain on that. Landorus gets Sandsear Storm. We get the Bleak Windstorm, we also get the Wild Bolt Storm, and we get the Spring Tide Storm across all four. They're all 100% accurate in rain. Oh, actually, I lied. This mod's not 100% accurate in rain, is it? Yeah, I don't think this guy's actually 100% accurate in rain, so maybe Enamorous isn't as good as what I'm thinking. But yeah, we got Sandsteer here, and we got Wild Bolt here, yeah. These mods in the rain are actually going to be kind of nutty. And the big difference between like Pelipper and Politoed is like Pelipper shares the flying typing with all these bonds. Politoed doesn't. And I do think that's going to be like really, really important as to why I think Toad could definitely like be better. Not to mention like I think Icy Wind support next to these mons is also going to be really, really clutch. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to like kind of touch on with these guys. He would run like Sheer Force, Sandsteer. I would go like Volt Absorb, like Choice Scarf on a guy like this, I think. You could also run Specs, like, because this guy's got like an absurd special attack. If you're confident that you don't need speed control, like Specs on this as well could be like insane. I do think that like on this guy here, it's probably just something like Sharp Beak. Again, you could go like more defensive if you wanted, but pretty decent special attack stat, really good speed stat. Yeah, I think like all these guys, like, dude, this one actually, I had some source I was going to tell you guys about this, but I don't think Springtide's actually like 100% accurate in the rain, which is actually like really sad. I'll show it to you anyway, just because I thought it was cool. It's actually like male Politoed with Captivate, captivating the contrary Enamorous in the rain. Yeah, I thought that would have been like really cool, but I've just realized I don't think this guy hits in the rain, which is pretty freaking sad. And then I guess finally just to touch on with rain as well, because like I do think the genie strat is going to be like really sick. It's just the mons that love rain, right? So first of all we got Rillaboom. Why does Rillaboom love the rain? It's because Rillaboom is scared of fire attacks, right? What is like already a deceptively bulky mon that I think is going to be like really freaking good, and also like could be really good, especially into the rain mirrors. Because obviously, like for those who don't know, Rillaboom is most likely getting Grassy Glide back, right? You're talking about a pretty bulky mon, has a nice speed stat for Tailwind, and yeah, like I think Rillaboom is going to be really solid. Hates fire type attacks. What else hates fire types attack? That is a grass type. It's Amoonguss. Amoonguss loves supporting stuff on rain. Rain allows it to run Terra Steel, which is like arguably a better defensive typing than water, just because it has more resistances than water does. This guy clicks Spore, he clicks Rage Powder, he puts everything to sleep, he redirects attacks. Yep, we all know that. Great. Golden Go is another guy I really like on Rain as well. Obviously, Make It Rain's like really freaking good. And again, Go Steel is like a fantastic defensive typing. Golden Go likes Tailwind. It just kind of goes hand in hand, right? It dodges its fire type attacks. It allows it to kind of run Terra Steel if it wants. Also pairing it with things, like, a Rillaboom plus, say, like, Double Genie, would also mean that it doesn't care too much about the ground type attacks as well, which is pretty cool. Not to mention Rillaboom plus Golden Go is just freaking sick, right? You go, like, lefties on this guy, he gives you the grassy terrain. You just click Make It Rain, have Protect, and yeah, you're going to have a good time. Yeah, you're going to have a good time. And then finally is actually Chen Pao. My main reason for having Chen Pao as well is like, obviously it hates fire type attacks, but also it pairs really nicely with Rillaboom. So I could see a world where these two on like a rain team could be really freaking good. But yeah, not much else really to say about Chen Pao or rain. Now, I do think Sun has a lot of things to talk about. So before I jump into them, I'm going to quickly just touch on Sand, because like Sand is like in a really sad spot right now. Sand basically has two setters. It's Hippo and it's Tita. Everyone knows them. Yay, woohoo. Tita, really good Sand setter. Hippo, kind of average. The issue right now is like Excadrill's not in the game. Dracovish, Dracozolt aren't in the game. I think Drill is confirmed for DLC 2. I don't think the other two are confirmed at all. So yeah, it's kind of freaking sad. If we just have a look at like the Sand Rush users, right? Let's just scroll down here. Have a look at the Sand Rush users. It's bad. Yeah, these two are good. This guy's really good. These guys all average, right? Lycanroc not bad. Lycanroc with Sash could like do things. Houndstone, it's like decent. That's it. Sandslash, decent. Sandslash is bad. Lycanroc, yeah. Like, let's be honest. The Sand Rush users themselves like aren't good. Then there's Sand Force. Sand Force is interesting. So you could go Hippo plus Tita, run Sand Force. But yeah, like Megachomp's not in the game. Drill's not in the game yet. It's a better Sand Rush user anyway. Like maybe Dougie, but like Dougie just dies to anything. Gastro's like cool in theory, but like on a sand team, I just think I would Sandstorm. Storm Drain. But yeah, no Sand Force users. The only real thing they actually have is the Sand Veil users. And there's actually two. Chomp and Score. Obviously Chomp, we've seen some play with it. It's interesting. Probably don't recommend it. Both these ones kind of just want the Bright Powder, I think, if you're gonna do it. I will try Bright Powder Gliscor. I promise I'm going to do it. Gliscor is my guy, and I really want to see him work. If I could spell, it'd be great. Yeah, I think it's... I'm so used to doing that for singles. Yeah, I think Gliscor might be cool. I'm thinking maybe about trying out Terra Rock on it with Rock Slide, like SD. Go like SD, Earthquake. That's Earth Power, isn't it? I do that every goddamn time. Earthquake, Swords Dance, and then just like Protect. Yeah, just something like that. Maybe there's a world where it's good. We go Terra Rock because like we want the special defense boost. We go Bright Powder, and we just we pray we get up an SD for free. This mod's like decent statted. Physical bulk is crazy. HP, like, so its attack stats like not good, but it's like manageable. Maybe you go something like this. You run up to like, I don't know, like 120 for speed creep, go like max there, and then just like pray. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Maybe that with like, yeah, rock could be cool. Yeah, unfortunately, I think sand is just like sand has always been like, I don't want to say it's been the worst, because I think it's like, for the most part, always been better than snow or hail. But like the main reason for that is because it like had sick abusers, right? Like Excadrill carried sand alone for like 2 generations until it got the other 2 Sand Rush users. But like sand is like so good because like Vish, Zolt, and Drill are like all good Pokemon. The rest of you suck. Yeah, that's about it for snow, for sand. T-Tar's a guy. T-Tar's cool. I love T-Tar. This guy as a standalone one is just great. But yeah, unfortunately the abusers for T-Tar are not quite there. And now finally, it is time for Sun. So obviously we have Torkoal and we have Ninetales. Now, Torkoal has, for the most part, always been the better of the two, right? It's bulkier. I think it doesn't detect. Yeah, I was gonna say it hits harder. It's really slow. It has Eruption. Ninetales doesn't. Bulkier on the physical end. Actually, not as bulky on the special end, which I'm actually kind of curious about, interested in. But yeah, everyone's like always just run this one, right? You run at min speed under Trick Room with Eruption. And it just pumps out a lot of damage, right? Terrifier as well is kind of absurd. Its physical bulk is also really, really nice. Ninetales on the other end, like it doesn't hit very hard. It's average speed tier. Its special defense is good, but its physical defense is like average. Yeah, so for the most part, Torkoal has always been like the guy everyone goes to, right? Not to mention Sunroom is like just like a really good archetype. There are some Sun ones. I'll leave it for after. I kind of want to touch first on Ninetales and why I think it's going to be good. Then we'll get to Sunroom and talk about that archetype. But why I think Ninetales is actually going to be a lot better is because it's speed stat, right? A lot of the last format was kind of like these, you know, these kind of slower mons, bulkier mons like Iron Hands and whatnot. And there's just a lot of mons that don't really appreciate max speed Will-O-Wisp. Especially like, you know, when you look at like, for example, Rillaboom is, everyone's saying Rillaboom's about to get a lot better, right? Ooh, sorry. Everyone's saying Rillaboom's about to be like one of the best mons in the format, right? We're also looking at a lot of, you know, things like Iron Hands, Chien Power, like a lot of these mons that are like really, really good physical attackers, even like Lando and stuff, yeah? A lot of the top physical mons don't appreciate a fast Will-O-Wisp. Even Urshifu is another great example. Obviously, Scarf Urshi doesn't care that much, but Scarf Urshi in the sun is kind of like really bad. But yeah, I definitely could see a world in where like a fast Ninetales is like really, really cool. Especially because there is an archetype in particular I think it enables, but we will get to that shortly. What else does Sun like? Similar to Rain, I'll quickly touch on it here. Sun like, you know, just hard hitters. Chi-Yu is kind of that guy for fire types. Like if we just like look at fire types here that hit hard, obviously, unfortunately we have to like look at it in the Nat decks here. Iron Moth is like obviously like a really good option. I don't know if Moth's going to be good on Sun. I could definitely see a world where it's like your booster mon on Sun, right? Because like, to me, it's like either Moth or like Bundle are like your 2 best booster mons in Sun. Just because like, you know, again, we'll get to the photosynthesis mons soon. But mons like Fluttermane, Roaring Moon and whatnot, they get the natural boost from Sun. So pairing it with something like the Iron Moth could be really, really cool. But I definitely think out of like the hard-hitting fire types, Chi-Yu is probably just the best one where it's like, you can just kind of slap it on a Sun team and you don't really care. Outside of Chi-Yu, I don't really think like you want to stack like a 3rd fire type on this team. In terms of abusers though, I'm going to quickly just touch on Solar Power first, because it kind of touches on both modes here. So Solar Power is interesting. It gives you a 50% boost to your attacks. Oh, is it specifically, actually let's have a look. Is it just your special attack stat? Yeah, it's just your special attack stat, but you lose 180 HP every turn. So it's a really, really good boost. It's basically a specs boost on a mon like Zard. You can go like Choice Scarf and like with a Heat Wave and like Overheat. This mod actually does pump out a lot of damage in Sun. Like Solar Power boosted Heat Wave in the Sun with like Terrify is insane. We kind of touched on Overheat, really good for picking up KOs. This mod does get Hurricane, which could like potentially be good in like, you know, Rain matchups. But I think Air Slash is just like the better stat move on this guy, yeah. In terms of this one, you could also just go like Solar Beam as well to help out as well there. And then another Solar Power mon that I kind of want to touch on is a mon that actually did decent in a format. I don't know if it was Reg C or D, but it was actually Sunflora in Sunroom. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying about Torkoal in Sun, right? So, sorry, in Trick Room. So you played like a win, like an end game, right? Where like Torkoal is like your win condition, right? In Sun. And Sunflora kind of just gives you like a grass type that you can use in the Sunroom, right? So it gets the Solar Power. It actually has a decent special attack. It's nothing crazy, but like it's technically still a lot better than Torkoal's. But yeah, this one, like it's decent. Yeah, it's nothing to write home about, but like, it can do something. Yeah, it gets the earth powers, you know. Obviously, it's like good into the rain matchups as well if you get the trick room up. It's just decent, nothing super crazy. But basically, the main reason everyone uses sun, not the main reason, but it's chlorophyll, right? It's the archetype that really like works with sun, right? And the way I kind of see it is like grass types are like really good because like not only do they have chlorophyll getting their speed boosted, but they're also really good into rain matchups, right? Basically, you kind of really need to have those flying types, you know, with hurricane, bleak and storm or whatever when you're playing rain, simply because of grass types. Grass types are also really good into like thunder as well, which rain does like to, you know, kind of use as well. Looking at the main setters here, obviously I think Hisuian Lilligant is like the best of the abusers. I think I just said setters, I meant the chlorophyll abusers. We also have Jump Off as well, which is like kind of cool. It's like a pretty fast like Tailwind mode. If you're not running like a different option for Tailwind. Get chlorophyll up. There's also things like Eggy. Eggy is like, I think it's in the perfect spot, right? I'm pretty sure 55 hits 107. Yeah, perfect. Eggy, that's the guy. Really good special attack stat, decent defensive stats. Eggy's kind of cool. But yeah, there's a lot of mons that like really, you know, kind of abuse chlorophyll. God, I can't freaking type ever, man. A lot of mons that are really cool. Like Leafeon's another cool mon that uses it. Lavani's coming back. We've got his, regular Lilligant as well. Scovillain's interesting. I don't think it's great. Shiftry's really cool. It's a Tailwind plus Fake Out mon that hits like okay. But really, Victory Bell's another mon that's coming back as well. Interesting. I don't know if I'll test it out. Unfortunately, though, I do think the best chlorophyll abuser is Venusaur, but unfortunately, Venusaur's not in the game yet. But yeah, a lot of really cool mons that can abuse it. Like Hisuian Lilligant is like a fantastic Focus Sash mon. It's like really good with like Sleep Powder, Protect, and then it's just like Close Combat plus like either Leaf Blade or Solar Blade. Jump Off is like really cool as well, just because it's like a really fast Tailwind setter. Like basically, this mon in Tailwind can like outrun a lot of mons. Like say for example, like you lead something with like a Tornado setup Tailwind, yeah. Jump Off just outspeeds a lot of things. Like a max speed Jump Off is just gonna like outspeed a lot of things. You go like the Covered Cloak, and you just like get Tailwind up. You're also like a fast sleeper as well. You also have like Leaf Storm as well, which is like pretty cool. Like Leaf Storm's really good for picking up things like Urshifu, right? Which is like, you know, it's nice being able to like straight up outspeed them. Like Urshifu and Tailwind does not outspeed you without a Toy Scarf, and then you can just straight up bop it, one shot it, get it out of here. Yeah, really cool for that. So there are, you know, a lot of chlorophyll abusers, right? Another thing as well, I guess we'll quickly touch on before I get into the main thing I want to touch about with Sun here, with Ninetales in particular, is Harvest. Harvest is like it's an ability where, for those who don't know, basically if you've got a berry, you'll harvest it in the sun every turn. So say I eat my citrus berry, at the end of the turn, I get another one back. So Alolan, Eggy, and Treant are like the two, Trevenant are the two main ones I want to touch on here. Mainly Alolan and Eggy. I think Eggy in a Sunroom format is like really cool because like you harvest, you get a citrus berry. This mon is like really freaking bulky. Quickly just drop its level down, sorry. Yeah, it's like really bulky, right? It's got like a solid HP stat, decent defense, kind of average like special defense, but again, like with this HP stat, it kind of makes up for it. You go something like this, you run it in Sunroom with like a quiet nature, and yeah, this mon can like pump out damage. It gets access to like Leaf Storm, gets like Giga Drain if you want even more healing, Draco Meteor, Trick Room. Yeah, a lot of really cool things. Yeah, like basically it can set up Trick Room, it can pump out a lot of damage, and it can stick around the board for like ages with Harvest plus Citrus Berry. Trevenant's very similar. It's got the Ghost type as well, so it's like decent for Trick Room. Unfortunately, Sun doesn't really offer the same like defensive capabilities as like Rain does. Like Rain obviously protects a lot of mons. Sun's a bit different. It doesn't really protect that many things. Because basically the things that you kind of want to protect are like, you know, grass types. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. A lot of what Sun beats, it just beats. Yeah, Rain's just a better defensive usage for it. But again, I want to kind of touch on now why I think, you know, Sun's going to be really freaking good. Or at least Ninetales Sun in particular. And that is the Paradox mons. Mainly, obviously, we're talking about Fluttermane and Roaring Moon. So, Roaring Moon paired up with Ninetales is really cool. Because, like, one, I didn't love Torkoal plus Moon. I tested it out. I didn't love it. I think Torkoal with Flutter was fine because you could go for, like, really fast attacks. Like, you could go, like, Specs plus speed boosting nature. So you just go, like, something like this, right? And you would go, I think it was, like, what would I run? I think I'd go, like, Timid 188, right? Timid. Yeah, so I'd go like Timid 188, and then that would allow me to go max here with the choice specs. And then you just like slap a helping hand on this guy, right? And it was really freaking cool. But I think Roaring Moon is going to be like just a better Tailwind setter. Like, I think this is like better than Jump Up as a Tailwind setter. Obviously, you know, in Sun. It is really quick as it is. With like Jolly Max Speed, you are like pretty damn quick. And then you can like just run this up to like 187. Dude, why does it always do this to me? 187. And then like, you know, I've always said, I just love the, like how optimized that is to me. Like having like that being perfect and then just like these two being exactly half of each other. Beautiful. My OCD loves it. But yeah, I think these guys paired up with Ninetales are going to be really freaking cool, right? I think Roaring Moon is going to be like the best Tailwind setter with it. But also like what having Ninetales kind of allows Roaring Moon to do is like not run the Acro set. Obviously the Acro set's fantastic for damage, right? But I'm really hoping that Roaring Moon gets like Flare Blitz in the DLC. I've kind of been like looking at it. I'm like, what does this mon need to really kind of like push it to that like upper echelon? And really the answer is just a better attack, right? Because like if you look at this mon's attacks, yeah, you're not really clicking any of these. Double Edge, you're not clicking. Outrage is good, but you don't really want to click Outrage. All these special attacks are like whatever, right? It kind of gets them from like from Salamence. I have 55 special attack. I don't freaking care about that, yeah. And then it's like, okay, Earthquake good. I'm not clicking Stone Edge when I could click Rock Slide. It gets all these fire moves as well. Like, come on, give it Flare Blitz, yeah. And then, like, you keep going down, and it's like Body Slam. Okay, and then finally we got the good moves. You got Crunch, Dragon Claw, Iron Head, right? All its good moves are 80 base power. I think this just needs something, right? Give it like Flare Blitz. Yep, give it like Flare Blitz because we're gonna crack it here. Go like Flare Blitz. Like you could run Breaking Swipe if you wanted. And then just like, you know, Dragon Dance or whatever, yeah, like whatever you want. Iron Head's an option. Jaw Lock's an option. I think a lot of people have been using Jaw Lock recently. Throat Chop is like obviously like always like a decent option, yeah. And then you just go like, I don't know, like Life Orb or like Expert Belt or something. And then you can go like Terra Fire, which like gets rid of its like its main weakness, right? I was gonna say, drop this anyway. I did run this, I think, in a draft league game. I actually think Terra Fire is really good on it, and in Sun with like boosting speed here, I think this could be really good. Especially if you go something like Life Orb, yeah. Flutter Mane, it's pretty much the same thing I was touching on before. Yeah, I'm kind of like just telling you guys how to play Paradox Mons. I just think having a fast Ninetales is just going to be better at enabling the Paradox Mons, is basically what I'm trying to say. I think this guy being a lot faster, it's like a really good Focus Sash Mon. It has Willow, Heat Wave, you just go like Protect, and then just like, you know, just kind of like, what's it called? Why can't I in English? A coverage move, yeah. I think Hex was like one I was looking at. Like Terra Ghost plus Hex could be kind of cool because it would allow you to like Hex up a Mon, burn up a Mon, and then just like hit him with like a really powerful Ghost Hex. Not to mention, like if you're going something like Sash, like Ghost Terror is like always just decent, right? Because it protects you, yeah. But yeah, that's really cool. And then one final one I kind of wanted to touch on with this is the one that I think will probably like, I hope at least start seeing more play, and that's Sandy Shocks. Again, it's boosted by the sun, which is really cool. I think Choice Scarf is like the best item on this mon. And then the really cool thing about the Choice Scarf set is you can actually just go max here with Timid Nature. And boys, look at that. You get the speed boost from your Choice Scarf, and you get the attack boost from Sun. It's fantastic. Not to mention, I think this mon is also just like really good into rain, right? Obviously, like having the electric stab is just like really good. Earth stab is also like always just really nice. You just got like Thunderbolt. And then I know people were running like Terra Ice on this, which maybe could be like kind of cool. But I don't know. I think the last move, it just really comes down to what the meta is kind of doing. But yeah, I also think Sandy Shocks could be like really cool in Sun. I kind of hope I articulated all that like well. I kind of just like going off the top of my head. And I've been recording for like well over 40 minutes at this point. But yeah, guys, let me know down below what you think of weather. Like, I'm so excited for weather. I think there's like a lot of cool, just different things you can do with it. Obviously, I'm a rain simp. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I have a team I'm planning. Also, like, let me know if you guys want to like see some free teams. I've just been like theory crafting like a Politoed double genie team. I think it's like really cool. Obviously though, like there's still so much we don't know about the format. So who knows if it's even going to be viable. But yeah, I also think snow is going to be sick. I don't know if I touched on it well enough. I think I kind of skipped over it. I think like Ninetales plus like one Snowmon, whether that be like, you know, maybe Mamoswine, probably Satitan or like Iron Bundle, paired up with just like a standard Tailwind core of like Tornadus plus 3 could be really cool. Like Tornadus plus Chiyu, I think. But yeah, look, I think there's a lot of cool things we can do. I kind of just, you know, shot out all my ideas. Let me know what you think of them down below. But yeah, that's me for this one, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.